fastest billion is the story of those billion Africans who've just seen the biggest increase in wealth that the continent's ever experienced. The idea is to try and break the gap between perceptions and reality in this book. The perception of Africa is a war-torn, strife-ridden continent of poverty and hunger. What we're highlighting is the growth, the growing incomes, the growing consumption of Africa. People still view Africa as dangerous, and yet it's not. In terms of conflict, in the top 10 countries where people are dying because of conflict, how many are African? 3. Africa is no longer the continent of war and civil strife in the way that it was. But I don't think most people realise that most of Africa is now democratic. Governments are proving more responsive to the electorates. We had the biggest, most successful, peaceful election in Africa's history last year, in Nigeria, to which no one paid much attention. Economists have had to rip up their numbers for how rich African households are, because we know that the numbers were wrong, they were too low, and this is just part of a much improved story. And we wanted to explain where that growth is coming from, and it's multiple areas. It's the improvement in democracy, in governance, it's the population growth, demographics, education, IT, huge growth in the mobile phone area that everyone's aware of, mobile phone banking. By the 2020s, we think car sales are going to be so big in Africa that they will be a Nigerian or a Kenyan or Tanzanian car company. The number of 15 to 24-year-olds in Asia is going to drop by a quarter this decade. In East Asia, that means a lot of schools close them down. And young workers, they're just not going to be as many around. In Africa, the number of young workers are going to grow by 15 to 20% every decade for the next 30 years. If you need labour, Africa's going to be the continent to go and find it. We were encouraged as children to learn about China, to learn Chinese perhaps for our future. And what we need to be teaching our kids is about Africa and the growth story that's happening there, because that's going to be the revolutionary story of the 21st century.